Hi, everybody. You're now experiencing the Gretna Bill Show.
Hi, Will.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool.
How many books did you read that are all behind you in that library?
Yeah, maybe none of them.
Solid, correct answer. Hey, Will, welcome to the Gretna Bill Show, man.
All right, yeah, thanks for having me.
So I think we met actually about a couple of months ago when Nate Boyer said, "Hey, you got to meet this guy who just did the Wilderness 303." I thought he was like typo, and I'm like, 303? And he goes, "Yeah, 101 back to back to back." And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." So second question out of my mouth was, what light was he using? And he goes, "I don't know, man." But I said, "Well, we got to certainly interview him." So that's when we met, right? And that's when you told
Yeah,
me.
yeah, that was.
Yeah. When was that? Like 2 months ago, or only a month ago?
Yeah, I think I did the Wilderness on April 24th, and yeah, I think we met like a couple weeks after that.
Yeah. So how long did that take you?
Yeah, so the Wilderness took me 32 hours to complete. I did it nonstop, straight through. Other than I took one 10-minute nap.
That's pretty darn good. 10 minutes. Amazing. And yeah, you talked about it. The best part of that story was that you had like 2 water bottles on your bike, 2 in your back pockets, and that you made it halfway through, nearly so, to the one spring refueling station, water station, and then hit it on the way back again, and then on the way back again. And that was about it, right?
Yeah, so I had 2 bottles on my bike, and that's all I carried. And then there was one natural spring out there that I'd refill my bottles at. And then I left like a gallon of water at another stop that I could refill. Um, but yeah, I carried all the food on me for each lap. And I just refill at my car every like 9 to 10 hours, whatever the pack was taking me, and be good to go for the next round through there. But yeah, I mean, I thought of that challenge last fall after I did the course twice. And I just like knew there's only one way to find out if I could do it free time. So uh, eventually just had to go out and try it. But it was incredibly difficult, and it helped me out a lot going into this UnBound sale this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure. What a great feat, and what a great footing. Yeah, to go into this race. So you started Unbound XL, and you're going to do about 350 miles or so. And yeah, so tell us about your race, how it went, when you showed up, and yeah, how you what you put on your bike, what provisions, etc.
Yeah, so going into the race was my first time doing a completely self-supported event that was going to be that long. So I I got the Lupine Light Betty, which was like the perfect tool for the job. I kind of mounted it on the underside of my bar because I was running aero bars, so I could fit it really nice under there. And then I ran the Bluetooth on-off switch up on my aero bar, which was feasible and it's a perfect feature for night riding because I could turn it on when I was going down more technical, chunky stuff, and then I could turn it on low when I was climbing or like on a nice smooth road. So that came handy a lot. And then as for other supplies, I carried like a hand pump, a lot of CO2s and tire darts and extra inner tubes. And I carried 3 bottles on my bike as well as a 1.5 liter Camelback because there's about 100 mile in between gas station stops on the course. So you're going like 7 hours before being able to refill on provisions. And there is a couple like neutral water stops that are pretty much just like spigots in people's backyards. But I kind of realized pretty fast when I was doing the race that a lot of those stops are pretty hard to find. So you kind of can't rely on them. You have to rely on the gas stations. Yeah, but the course, like I knew it was going to be hard going into it, but it turned way harder than I could have ever expected with all the craziness that happened during the race.
So yesterday I watched the podcast of Jonathan Lee of trainerroad.com interviewing Taylor Ladine. Is he part of your story? If I remember correctly,
he is part of my story.
So
so I'll give you.
Yeah, go ahead. Give us the play-by-play. Sort of as you started off, and then how it developed to 3, and then to 2, and then then your incident.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you the recap.
Thanks.
So it started off. There's probably about 100. There's probably about 120 of us on the start line, and we rolled out of Emporia, Kansas, and pretty much just immediately went into the gravel. There was probably like a group of 20 of us after like the first hour or so, and it kind of whittled down a lot. And then it slowly just went down to a group of 5 riders by about 40 miles in at the first gas station. So we just ran in there super fast, and we're in and out. We caught that gas station clerk by surprise, just like having all these cyclists running in, and we were all in a huge hurry to be first in line and to get in and out as quick as possible. So it's my first time being in a race where you have to run in a gas station and do that. So I learned a lot that first time that you want to grab your stuff and get first in line, because if you get stuck 5th in line, it takes like 5 minutes to get checked out. So I got in and out of there. I was in 2nd place behind Jay Peterberry, has the FKT on the Great Divide Trail. So I could tell that he knew what he was doing and kind of followed his lead. And so me and him got out of that gas station and went up the road, and then the other guys slowly caught back up to us. And we kind of cruised together in that group until about mile 70 or so. And then another rider fell off, and there was about 4 of us. So we were all just kind of riding together, having a good time. Once the group made it that small, we were pretty relaxed and happy with being in a group like that. And we made it to about darkness. And by the time darkness happened, it was just me, Jake Peterberry, and Taylor Ladine riding together. And we were super happy when it got dark out, because it was crazy hot that whole day. And so it finally cooled off a little bit. And I got to use my light for the first time, and the thing worked perfect. So I could see, like, I could go just as fast as I was going during the day. We kept going. The second gas station was at 117 miles, and I made it in to there at all of us together, and we ran in the Dollar General and just got all of our stuff. I was feeling really good, and me and Taylor ended up getting on the road first, so we got out ahead of Jay, and we're in 1st and 2nd place. And Taylor looked over at me and was just like, "You want to work together and build a big lead?" So I told him I was definitely in for that. So we kind of worked together for the next couple hours, just pulling and trying to build up a gap on 3rd place. And I think it was around midnight, Taylor ended up getting a flat tire. So I ended up going into the lead, but 5 minutes later, I got a flat tire. So I had to plug that and just get that sorted out in the middle of the night. And I ended up milking that because I had broken the bead on my tire. So I had to stop every like 5 to 10 miles to pump it up with my hand pump. So after messing with that for an hour being out front, Taylor ended up catching back up to me. And we when he caught back up, he was just like, let's just ride together for the rest of the night. And I was totally in for that because there's really nothing more to gain. And plus for like navigational issues, it's always easier navigating with two guys. So we were just riding together and having fun until around 3:30 a.m. was when the ride started getting exciting. I was descending down this gnarly double track road, following Taylor. He was in front of me, and there's a pretty big rut that we were both riding in. And my front tire just caught the side of the rut and just threw me down. I took the hardest crash of my life, just landing on my left side, hitting my arm, and my arm was bleeding pretty heavily, and my hand went numb as soon as I crashed. So I knew that something had happened to my hand, but I kind of laid there for a minute or so, and Taylor came back and made sure I was okay, and I kind of gave him the thumbs up that I was fine. Like I knew I'd be able to walk or make it to that gas station at 216 miles. So he kept riding up ahead, and after kind of taking a check, I started walking down the road, and then eventually hopped back on my bike and started riding. This was about 200 miles in when I crashed, and that next gas station was at 216 miles. So my one goal was just to make it to the gas station at 216 miles. It was still like pitch blackout, obviously, because it was like 3:30 in the morning or so. And I eventually made it to the gas station 16 miles away after it felt like forever. And
No
I
doubt.
got there, and that was the first time where I could kind of see my arm in the light, and I could tell it was bleeding a lot, and my hand went from being numb to the pains really started to settle in it. So I knew something was up with that, but I just went in the gas station and got some pizza and some ice cream and got a soda, and I sat down on the curb and just ate all that food. And I knew I had to do something with my arm. So since it's self-supported, you can only receive help that's like available to everybody. So I went in and I asked the cashier if she could tape up my arm. I could tell that she probably wasn't too happy about doing that at 5 a.m., but she helped out, and she used like some blue Scotch tape and just got it taped around there and stopped the bleeding with that. And I knew I wasn't going to quit. So, since I'd made it to that gas station 16 miles from where my crash was, I knew I could ride. So like, I was like, well, if I could ride that 16 miles, then I'm not going to quit here. I can keep going. So I kept going. I still had like 11 hours of riding left, and it started to get super hot out as soon as the sun came up. I think I made it to the gas station at like 5 a.m. And then after that, the sun came up, and yeah, it was scorching hot. And out in Kansas, you'll go miles and miles without seeing a single tree for shade. So that came back to bite me later. But I kind of figured out a system for riding where I didn't have any grip strength in my left hand, but I could kind of place my left hand on my bars. And then whenever I would come up to a bump, I'd take my left hand off the bars because it just hurt way too bad. If I ever hit a bump and it hit my hand, it was pretty excruciating pain. So I was riding about half of it one-handed. And I could also I was running aero bars on my bike, which were nice because I could get the weight off my hand to some extent when the road was smooth enough to get on them. But one of the problems was I couldn't eat and drink while I was riding because since my left hand didn't have any grip strength, it was hard taking my right hand off and grabbing my bottles and my food. So I got pretty dehydrated and really was feeling the effects of that. I made it to about 250 miles when the sun just was excruciatingly hot. And I remember just sitting on the side of this cow pasture, and I just sat there and cried for a while. I wasn't crying because I was feeling sorry for myself or anything. I was crying because like I knew I was determined to finish it, but I also knew just how painful it was going to be to ride my bike another 8 hours with the broken hand and with being dehydrated. So it was after that was I started to the dehydration started catching up to me, and I started like hallucinating. I was seeing like figures in the distance on those empty dirt roads, and started seeing like black spots in my vision. And I'd never really like felt something that severe before, so I kind of knew something was going on. But yeah, that last like 6 hours is kind of a blur. But I eventually made it to 20 miles to go. The course kind of picks up where the 100-mile riders are also there. So the 100-mile race was going on. So I was passing the 100-mile riders, and they probably thought I was crazy because I was like screaming every time I would hit a bump, and they looked a little bit shocked by that. But I kept going, and yeah, I couldn't believe it too. The whole time I stayed in second place. I mean, I knew Taylor was up the road, but nobody caught me. I kept my pace good enough that nobody was able to catch me, and made it to the finish line at second. And it kind of all started to settle in at the finish line, just like how deep I went. I started getting pretty shaky, and I could tell something was going on in my hand, that there's like some structural damage in there. So after I kind of stumbled over to Jimmy John's and got a sub, and then after there went to the emergency room, and yeah, they did x-rays on my hand. It turned out I broke it, and I needed 3 stitches in my arm. And they were especially happy I came in because I'd gotten rhabdomyolysis, where your muscles break down into your bloodstream, which can cause kidney failure. So I spent the night in the hospital getting some IVs and like antibiotics and stuff, and all fixed up. And yeah, when I was in the hospital, I really realized just how deep I had pushed to finish the ride. And it all set in as pretty overwhelming, but it was a hell of a ride.
Dude, that's amazing. Kudos to you, a millionfold. Just awesome. Show of determination. And I think when we talked before, you said, geez, I'm glad they didn't put a cast on my hand, because then I wouldn't be able to compete in the upcoming national 24-hour solo championship. And I thought that was like, okay, I can't wait to see how you do there, dude, with that kind of determination. I'll be rooting for you all the way. I guess you'll be competing against Taylor Lundeen
Thanks,
again,
man.
right? You'll be competing against Taylor Lundeen again.
Yeah, I think he probably will be there.
That's awesome news. I wish you the best luck. I know you're going to crush it. I had a couple of questions and when I was looking at your Instagram post. The first one was when you said you had ice cream, pizza, and a soft drink, and you said Fanta. Immediately, I thought it had to be Fanta Orange. Is there any other Fanta that you would drink?
Yeah. Oh, it was Fanta Orange, 100%. That
Yes.
hit the spot. That's probably the best Fanta I ever had in my life.
I bet. In listening to Taylor tell about his lighting situation, he said he really liked exposure lighting because the battery was part of the light itself. And I thought, that doesn't sound like a great idea. And then he goes on to say he carried 3 lights because he had to, when one battery would go out, he would take the whole light off, all that weight, put it back in the backpack, and put a whole nother light on because the battery was in it. And so then I thought, oh, that's great. And I was so glad to hear that you had a good experience with the Betty and the way you had it mounted. And you were telling me that there was plenty of power in that battery, and that you, judiciously leveled out the high beam and the medium beam and the low beam. But you said you might even try the programming, the customized programming option next time, and maybe even go with a 4th option. And so you might be doing that for a 24-hour race, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to do the programming for it, because it's a great feature having the Bluetooth thing. It's not like I would have to reach down and cycle through. I can just use the little button and cycle through. And the programming's cool because you can kind of look at your race and find how much you're going to be riding in the dark or how long the night's going to be, and then like program the low setting accordingly. So in this last race, like there was about 8 or 9 hours of darkness. So I didn't get around to programming it before it. I regretted it. But for the 24-hour race, I'll just look how much night riding there'll be, and then I'll program it so the low setting can handle like that much overnight, and it still will be like plenty bright with however many lumens it's at. But yeah, the high setting was insane with the 5,000 lumens. I could light up the whole road, and like I said earlier, I could go just as fast as I was riding in the day. And same with the medium setting, was still really bright and has a really wide range of light exposure. So it was a perfect setup for the job.
Yeah, and those with the new Cree XML3 chips, LED chips, they actually we've upgraded all the lights, which we don't officially announce it, but your light is upgraded to, it's now kicking out like 5,400 lumen on the top end. So, also I saw Taylor tell Jonathan that he carried 2 element roams because he wanted to make sure that he had enough battery power, and then also an add-on battery pack. And so the first thing I was thinking of was, and we may have discussed it, but we make a splitter product that would go off the big battery like you have, and it would power your light and your GPS device simultaneously. So you can, double dip and a lot of repurpose for that battery for a lot of different things. Did you have only one GPS device, and how did you keep that thing running?
Yeah, so I was just running one GPS device. I was using the Garmin 530 Edge, and I just kept on like 10% brightness. I mean, I had to run navigation the whole time because there's no markings on the course, so you're responsible for making all the turns yourself. But I did carry just like a little battery stick thing that I could use to plug it in. But I was kind of just watching the battery, and I could tell that I'd make it to the end. So amazingly, like the Garmin was completely fine going for over 24 hours. And yeah, so I didn't have to plug it in. I'm sure if I was doing like a multiple day thing, I would have to charge it on the ride. But for that race, I didn't have to.
Very cool. So yeah, let me know what device, do you need USB-C or USB micro or, USB Apple? Well, not for Garmin, it wouldn't be. But
All right.
I think it's USB-C. So at any rate, I'll spend you that splitter because then you can power your computer and your light simultaneously. And then, of course, as you know, the light, when it's facing up to you on the top tube, has a fuel gauge on it, right? 100%, 80%, 60, 40, and 20. So that way, you don't have to necessarily check your computer or anything, check your Garmin for power, but you can obviously, but you can just look at your battery and know that you've got enough juice in the battery to cover both the Garmin and the light. Anyway, I wanted to make mention of that. That may not become handy, but I think it will be. But I was really amazed that Taylor's carrying all these lights with him. It's like, man, dude, that's a lot of lights. You only need one. So anyway, great story. And great story, dude. And I saw I also saw on Instagram one where you were walking through the gas station, grocery store area, and you had all the tape on your arm and the blood was dripping down. And I thought, boy, there's a trooper for you. So, yeah, man, thanks for being on the show. And thanks for gutting that out and having a Lupine on your bike. I appreciate it. And I want to make sure that I, again, wish you the best of luck at U.S. Nationals, 24-hour solo championships coming up in Bend, Oregon. What's the date on that?
Yeah, so the date is July 11th. So I'm thinking my hand should be good to go by then. And yeah, I wanted to thank you again for getting me that Lupine light. I mean, it was perfect for that race, and I'm excited to use it at 24-hour nationals.
All right. Yeah, do me a favor and win that, and then hopefully we can get you back on the podcast. and talk about that great
For
win.
sure.
So good luck. And thanks again, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Thanks, man. Nice talking to you.
See you, Will.
See ya.